Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to Haunted Scotland Live. And tonight we're a little bit late, obviously, with the internet
Welcome,
issues.
ladies and gentlemen,
Again,
to Haunted Scotland
strange
Live.
things are afoot.
Tonight,
Where's that coming from?
Sure. Oh, it was my phone. Oh, sorry.
I love it when things like that happen. I absolutely love it when that. Mind that happened to me once, Dakota. But who's all in the chat? We get Parapost Central. Oh, that was you, Dakota. That wrote that. I did again. No.
So, yeah, you actually gonna show
tonight,
up
guys, we're going to be talking about mythical creatures. I know. We're going to be talking about mythical creatures of Scotland's. Oh, was that Danny Wolf? Hey, all, can't stay. Blessings. Oh, get better soon, my friend, because I know you're not very well. Please get better soon, Danny.
Get better, Uncle Danny. It
should be a good night tonight. I uploaded about 20 photos, but they've disappeared, and I'm going to blame the aliens. The aliens, they were taking stuff away. Diabolical, you know. But we've actually got an interesting show tonight, guys, because we're not only going to be talking about Loch Ness, we're going to be talking about locations around Scotland. And I'd like to welcome the new people in the chat. Look at all these new people in here, Dakota. Look at this. We've got Parafor. So we've got NGS. Good afternoon. And we're obviously joined by Drew's Paranormal here. But Dakota himself has seen the beast. Isn't that true, Dakota? You've seen the Loch Ness monster. Mm-hmm. That's why he's here tonight, ladies and gentlemen, because he can tell a scary story about the night it happened. Well, during the day, was it not?
Yeah, it was in the middle of the day. I don't know why you're trying to
listen. While I'm here,
scary story.
It's scary for big monsters coming out the water and stuff like that. But guys, while you're here, if you're into gaming, what's your gaming channel? Because I know I do have people on my chat, Dakota, that are gamers and they do follow me. So this is your opportunity to share it out.
Unless, unlike you, I would just keep all my shit under one roof. You spread everything out.
Thank you, Meg.
There's a gamers in there, so could you please go to a friend's channel, gaming channel? Oh,
he's popped off.
I hope he's not been kicked now by accident. I think he's pressed the wrong button.
I just want to say thank you to everybody who has came over. Thank you. Yep.
See, are they some of your subscribers?
Yeah, they all come over. Paranormal Hub Worldwide, welcome in. Thank you for coming, buddy. Meg's Mysteries as well. Thank you for coming. Everybody, please subscribe to Ghost Squad Scotland. I said it wrong again. Ghost Squad Scotland. Willies are here, please.
I'm
interested to ask Dakota what his opinion of the monster is from a kid's point of view to now as an adult. See, so I hope he gets back on. I want to see what his opinion is.
He'll be back here. He's pressed the wrong button. He's accidentally pressed.
To let you understand, Dakota, guys, Dakota has actually seen.
And you know he'll get me back for saying that. See, he's here.
Yep. Dakota has actually seen and he has documented it.
Do you want to come in, Dakota, or will I add you? Or do you want me to add you? Or... There he is there.
I was like, it's my account, man. I should add myself.
Man himself, he's actually seen the beast.
Yes.
I know.
Yes.
I know.
Yes.
I know. So, Dakota, tell everybody who you are, what you do, and how it all happened for you at Loch Ness.
All right. Well, my name is Dakota France, and I'm known as the specialist of the strange when I'm not doing podcast stuff. Basically, it was a few years ago, my friends and I, we all got together we used to have a travel group to where once a year we pick a location where none of us has gone to before, save up money for the year, and just go as a group. One year, it was through Ireland and Scotland. I initially wasn't going to go on that trip, and then I noticed that Scotland was one of our last, Loch Ness, rather, was one of our last stops. I've always wanted to check out Nessie. Keep it spooky, my friend. Don't worry, it's a very underwhelming story. A lot of people don't like my resolve when it comes to this. So time came around, we got to
That's what
Loch
it is.
Ness. My eyes did not leave the water because I was wanting to see something. We got to Urquhart Castle. I just found the highest point I can get to and just kept watching the water. The ferry rides that go on Loch Ness, they have sonar equipped so that maybe they'll see something. There's not a lot of hits, but they also believe that Nessie could actually sense sonar like a lot of aquatic animals can. So as I was standing on the hill, I noticed that there were several black shapes moving throughout the water. That is not one of them. Figures one of the fake photos of Nessie. I know, story. So there was just several black spots moving throughout the water. I'm watching and taking pictures every second, trying to get something. There's a little black speedboat that goes by. One of the black shapes goes to meet it, and all of a sudden just stops suddenly, like it thought it was about to get hit. But the thing is, these things were massive, easily 20, 30 feet long. Part of its back end moved up above the water. I could make out what looked like gray skin, kind of a blackish spots a little bit. Obviously, I see something big just move out of the water. I freak out, miss the golden shot, but still take a few photos. There's a few where you do see a black spot moving throughout the water, but not a lot of detail there to tell exactly what it is. You have to be careful because Loch Ness does have a major seal population that has been mistaken for Nessie. Mm-hmm. By all accounts, Nessie is not a lost dinosaur, unless you want to count a 20-foot eel as a dinosaur.
Yeah.
I mean, what's that?
Oh, I was just going to go fake picture here. Now, this is a fake picture, ladies and gentlemen. It's not the real thing. It's a fake picture. Oh, God. When you go, sorry to cut on you go.
No, I was just going to say, a year later, the casting department for a show on National Geographic wasn't exactly paying attention to the news article. Reached out to me asking if a different photo was one I took and if they could get permission to use it on their program. I said no, but I do have these photos. So I ended up being on National Geographic for a few seconds, but hey, that's more than most people.
Yeah. I mean, it's definitely strange. It really is, Nessie. I mean, I obviously I'm Scottish. I have to try and believe for the tourist industry. But what's your thoughts on this, Drew?
See, I believe that there was something. I mean, way back the cameras and things were very rare. I do believe that there was something in the loch, but nowadays everybody's got a camera and their things. And it's just really hard to filter through all the footage. Well, there's much footage, but it's what you perceive it to be when you look at it. I mean, look at the one you just played where you were, I think it was alpacas, wasn't it, in the water? It was alpacas, and people did believe it was right. Nessie. I think so.
It was actually
fooled, you know?
Yeah. I mean, Dakota was actually, you were talking about that. Was it on Sunday night, Dakota? What night was that?
Yeah.
It was on Brian and Lex's show.
Yeah, it was. And like I said, it was when the UK was getting that real nasty heat wave, apparently at Palco Farm nearby. Mm-hmm. The alpacas decided to break free and go on a swimming trip, which, considering how hot it was getting, I can't necessarily blame them. But when you actually go to look at the photos they took, even though the photos were fairly clear, it was what looked like a blurry shape because, everybody can't seem to focus on the cryptid. You also got to realize that was a very shaggy alpaca that cause that blurry outline. Like I said, I couldn't necessarily blame them. It's
Yeah.
one of the more funny outcomes, but there's
Mhm.
I'll say this.
there is
I'll
footage.
say this. I've seen the picture of that. There you go, Dakar.
Almost looks like a bit of a cartoon, but I will say this. Yes,
Yeah.
there is underwater footage. Not a lot of people realize that water is not very clear, so it's hard to get anything unless it's within maybe 10 feet under ideal conditions. I got lucky that it was sunny most of my trip, which most of the Scottish locals started freaking out because they're not used to that. So conditions were in favor for me. But there is also several DNA tests done from several different points in the loch where the only thing they found that could look like a big quote unquote monster to somebody who is not familiar with the area was eels.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I believe it's eels. I do believe it's eels. I mean,
See, I'm interested to know.
on you go.
I was just going to ask Dakota. I'm interested to know what. I mean, I do believe you were a lot younger when you went on that trip, Dakota. So I'm interested to know if at the time you were more leaning towards the Nessie side, as to now where you're more leaning towards the logical side. It's probably eels. Did you believe at the time it was Nessie?
Well, my trip was back in 2018, so I wasn't too younger. I believe I saw some. What's that?
Right.
Yeah, it was only
you were in the two. So it was the two. You were in the two, and you weren't a kid or anything, right?
But no, I was one of the ones helping wrangle all the kids, to be completely honest. But I had ulterior motives for that particular trip.
Right.
I mean, he's like,
what was that?
but here's one of those things where you gotta be careful if you want to go into cryptids, because a lot of mythology and cryptids that tends to blend together, and understandably so in most cases. But you got to draw the line. Didn't want to automatically say, oh, there's still dinosaurs living among us, but I knew I saw something.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, can I ask you something?
Yeah.
Like, see if it wasn't an eel that you seen, right? Just hypothetically, say it wasn't an eel. What else? And what else do you think it could have been, Dakota?
Right now, that's the only thing I know of in that water that would fit the bill, unless you got sturgeons over there.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, because I mean, as a salt lake, I mean, there's obviously tunnels running to the sea. We know that because of the salt water content. I mean, I think long ago, maybe, and I mean long ago, I'm talking thousands of years ago, there was maybe something in there, right? In the water. But I do think a lot of it is for the tourist trade. And that's my honest opinion. It is. But if you talk about Loch Ness itself, I would say that Loch Ness is one of the most haunted places in Scotland, especially that castle that you were at before. Mm-hmm. Because I looked it up last night, actually, because I was researching this, and you should see the ley lines that run through Loch Ness. It was actually Danny. It was in the chat. He was talking about that the last time he was on here. All the ley lines that run through there. And then you have got Alistair Crowley's house right next to the lake.
Mm-hmm.
It makes you wonder what it could be. I mean, I said to Danny about this. Do you think it could be like is it a topla it's called? If you believe in something that much, it comes to... You know where I'm getting with this? If you, it's like for instance, it's like the mythical creatures that people believe in, they come to life, right? So, which I'm not going to say their names because then just gives them power. I mean, if you think about it, if you believe that you want to see that monster or whatever it is that much, you will see something because it'll take form.
Yeah, you kind of manifest it.
Yeah, you manifest it.
I do believe there was something years ago, but we don't need to just rely on Nessie for our Scottish creatures because there is loads if you start getting into the myths and legends.
So, would you like to go now? I mean, what locations? I mean, I'm looking at a map. If you can see the background of this, I've actually got a picture that didn't get deleted. It didn't get deleted, and it shows you all the mythical creatures in Scotland. I mean, what we got the what we all got here. Let me bring my phone up to me and read some here. We've got the where do we go? We've got the blue men of the
Kelpies, for examples.
The Kelpies. Kelpies. Go Jenny.
The Kelpies is actually spirit of the waterways.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Actually, I've got a picture of the
Kelpies is
Kelpies here, and it's
interesting
not a real
because-
picture. To say that every time, it's not a real picture.
I
I
know.
know, to God.
See, depending
Ah,
on what depending on what river it is what the myth is. I mean, there's
Yeah.
different ones that all run around the. It's all based on the Kelpies, such as the horse, of course, which is a horse spirit. But depending on what lake it is, what river, there is a different Kelpie horse for each lake and things, which is really interesting. Because a lot of the time the horse appears as a young man, and then you fall in love with him, cuddle him, and then he turns into a horse, scoops you up, takes you to the bottom of the ocean, and never lets you back up.
So there you go, Dakota.
it's
The
still
next time you're in Scotland
spirit.
and you see a young maiden waving at you, don't go running to her arms.
Don't go. Especially
It's
if she's
just
got long
look, it's
flowing
not-
hair.
I mean, the Loch Ness monster's not just been seen
No,
in
it's
Loch
not just
Ness; it's been
lochs,
seen in other
rivers as
lochs.
well.
Aye. See, I will say there is a part there is something to play at this. All these legends. I think that there's the mothers and fathers have told their children that live next to these places, like the lochs and stuff. Oh, there's a strange creature down there. Don't go down there at night to the children, right? So as they don't go down there and fall in and get drowned, right? And then they've kept that in their heads, and then they've get married, and they've told it again and again, and a wee bit he's getting added onto that. I will say this: there is some really strange stuff. There's some really strange things in Scotland. You know.
Yeah, for sure there is.
So, what other mythical creatures do you know of, Drew? Strange things from beyond.
Well, you've got the red caps, okay, which is a very interesting story
Yes.
if you're interested in fairies. It's a very interesting one. So the red caps, guys, is basically a fairy, okay, which is not such a nice fairy. He's actually got talons as feet. So if you happen to come across a little elf in an elf-like creature dwarf in any of the woodslands of Scotland or even Ireland, don't go near it because the chances are that it is a red cap. And what he does is he's a seeker of souls of everybody. Anything at all that's got a soul, he will devour it. And it says that the minute that his heart starts to dull is when he actually goes and gets his prey. And if his heart loses its colour, that's the only way he dies. And if you manage to drown him or something such like, so it's only fresh water that can kill. So don't, whatever you do, get near a red-capped elf in the woods.
I quite like the tale. Have you ever heard of the Stour worm? And it lives up right at the north of Scotland, and it's meant to have come up and got the ships. See, this is where we're getting into kind of legend again. This is where ships have sunk, right? There's been a stormy night. There's been this old ship for like the 16th century, the 15th, 16th century, bobbing about, and it's hit the rocks and it's sunk, right? And the sailors will be like, oh, the big beast came out the water and took us away. Exaggeration, right? And it's stuck. There is so many. I mean, if you just need to look at this pic, I mean, it's ridiculous. I mean, there's some of the names there that I can't even pronounce, Drew. I mean,
Yeah, I know.
I mean, we're talking about kind of Scottish accent last week, ladies and gentlemen, but there's one there, and it's a black cat, and it's like got flames
Mhm.
coming for the bottom of it, right? And it's called Big Ears. I mean, who thinks of these names? Seriously? I mean, oh my god! And then down where we stay, down there where we stay, we've got the Phantom Piper. Right?
Ooh.
I can see that. The Phantom Piper, right? It could be a spirit, a piper that died, right? But I don't see anything terrifying about the Phantom Piper.
Sometimes
what
they
does the
weren't
Phantom Piper?
terrifying, no. I mean, you've got the brownies, for example. They are actually creatures that helped you. The way they were happy as long as you were happy, much like Dobie Socks in the comments. They're actually
Yeah.
a spirits of your home that would help you with things. And they just said never to give them clothes, because if you gave them clothes, they were offended and they would leave. So you basically had to let them help you, not reward. The only way to reward them was to let them village in your home and help you. So they weren't all bad.
What about the dancing elf called the Bogey of Dundee?
I never heard that one, I don't think.
Oh, I'm looking at them all here. There's just a list of them. I'm just going to read some of them out.
Well,
We've got
right.
the Great Hand of Edinburgh. The big hand that seemingly comes out in fire and comes to get you and takes you away to the underworld. And then we've got what else we got? Well, there's Nessie again. I mean, it's just ridiculous the amount of names. And then there's the serpent. Where you go?
It's funny how if you listen to them all, they all have a purpose of taking you to the underworld, if you like. The Kelpies such as took you to the underworld through the rivers and things. And then the scary men spirits and things, or lady spirits of the woods, they took you as well through the trees or through the burrows. And, so everybody wanted to take you to the underworld a way back when these legends were kind of formed.
Here's a question for Dakota. And Dakota, you're into the crypto kind of stuff. I don't really do crypto stuff, right? It's mere spirits and UFO stuff, right? What kind of strange creatures do you get that hang about the woods? It's a shame Mike, the Naked Bigfoot's not here, because he would be able to round them all off. But what kind of strange creatures do you get that hang about the woods and mountains and stuff like that, Dakota?
If you're trying to imply that Scotland has its own version of Bigfoot, yeah, there's reports out there as well.
Yeah.
But
I mean,
most people out of the UK, they get excited because their most exotic animal is a hedgehog.
You still have hedgehogs in America?
See,
no, we have porcupines.
Wondered if we have got enough. Well, have we got enough woodlands and things, like enough land where it's vast, if you like, for these things to exist?
Well, see Scotland. If you go back to maybe the 12th, 13th century in Scotland, a lot of Scotland was covered in oaks, right? It wasn't. See the pine trees you get over here. They're more native to Sweden and Norway and stuff like that. They were brought over and planted. They don't come from here. You get the Douglas firs and you get the oaks, and a lot of the oaks were cut down to make sailing ships and furniture. That's why. And then there was the plight where it killed off a lot of the oaks and chestnuts. I mean, I know you get the fairies that live in the woodland areas, right? Which, as I say, guys, I don't know much about the kind of this side to the spiritual stuff, fairies and goblins, and it's actually quite scary. It makes you think what is out there watching you. It's like Mike the Naked Bigfoot would say. It says when you're walking through the woods and everything goes quiet, it makes you wonder.
Well, I
if
do
it's
believe they
you.
exist. I do believe they exist. I do believe that you've got to have your third eye and things open to see these things or even sense them around you.
Yeah.
But through the different people I've not researched as such, but came across and maybe read a story, watch a video and things, and gather my own perception of it all, I think you've got to have your third eye really open and really be in tone with it, like Mother Nature and things, and be quite silent for an end. I think you would see something as long as you were in the right place, you know. Wales is supposed to be really, really magical for fairies.
There's a question for you, Dakota, here. I mean, what kind of mythical creatures have you ever seen with your own eyes, Dakota? That have been obviously said as mythical, but I know you've seen like Bigfoot and things like that. But what other creatures have you seen?
Where I'm at, Bigfoot and Dogman are the big ones. We do have occasional reports of fairies, but then there's people that try to say that there's a pterosaur flying around a state capital here, but it's like, no, that's a pelican. And yes, they do come down this far.
See, people are wanting myths and things, wouldn't it? People want it.
They want these strange entities. I will say this: I do believe in like the dog man, the skinwalker. I do believe in like there's creatures out there that can change. They have the ability to change. I don't know that much about like skinwalkers and that, how they can turn themselves into like wolves and stuff like that, but there's been so many reports in the United Kingdom
if you remember,
about things like that.
Correct. The reason that they can turn themselves into anything they want, remember, things that were never human don't have to stay in the human form, especially when they do cross over. Most spirits are mythical anyway, and on the other side, so they can be anything they want because they've never had human skin. They've never been human. It's much like your demons and things. They can be anything they want to be. You know?
Yeah.
The fear, that's what they go on. They go on your fear.
Did you know come into contact once with like a skinwalker? There was something you were telling me one night about that. You came into contact once with something like it.
Yeah, I've heard reports that there's been skinwalkers spotted in my area. It's not that surprising. A lot of open desert and several native tribes that talked about seeing stuff like that. I don't know. It's just like couldn't necessarily tell if it was a skinwalker or a seriously messed up coyote. You never know.
See,
that's one of the things out there. But you also got to realize when it comes to skinwalkers themselves, a lot of the lore behind skinwalkers, werewolves here in the States, it got twisted when European settlers came over because they were comparing it to things they heard about from their home.
What's your opinion on this, Drew?
Yeah, I think that's right. I think every place has got their. It's basically the same entity. Well, no entity if you like, but it's just as Dakota says. It just depends on where you're from, the way that you know it as, isn't it? I mean, I'm not an expert in that field whatsoever, but going with what people say, it's basically like the same thing. It's just different named, you know. But I do believe these things exist, especially Dogman and things.
That's quite interesting you say that because I did a video on this channel. I think it was about maybe a month ago, and it was a churchyard. And where was it? It was just near Ayr somewhere. I can't remember the name of the place. And did you see when I went into the graveyard and there was the two little girls that had been murdered by a black dog? Now, the reports of this big black dog, this big black dog's, it was Muirkirk Cemetery. That's it. Look up Muirkirk Cemetery.
So it was.
And on the gravestone itself, it says, I read the kind of wee story, the background, and then I bumped into an old gentleman. I asked him about it, and he was telling me that the story goes that the two little girls were going to school, right? They were going to school, and they were walking across the field to go to school, And the farmer was out ploughing the field. And he heard the screams, and he ran over and he seen this big black dog. It was huge. It was like a hellhound. It was big and black, huge dog. He chased over, it ran away, right? And the two girls were dead. Now, that's actually quite interesting because in this area where I stayed, I don't know if you know this, there's been reports of like a big black dog seen in the
Right.
woods. And that happened, I think it was in the 14th, 15th century, 16th century. It makes you wonder, is there something to that? Is it something that changes into a dog that, you know, there you go, the black Shug. Aye, there you go.
Chuck.
It changes in it changed to this thing as a human that can change themselves into like a dog, and it has to kill people
See,
every
who
now and
knows?
again. It's actually quite scary, actually, to think that there's something out there in the woods watching you. I know people, hunters, that I've seen things like that in the woods. They've been like out shooting pheasants, and they've been walking through the woods, and they'll look over, and they'll see this big black dog. What are those cats called? They're big and black. They're called pumas.
Well, remember
Well,
way back in Scotland?
Panthers, yes.
I'm older than you.
Aye.
They were seen as well, remember? I don't know if you
Yeah.
in the beginning of the 80s. I
In
think
the valley,
it
yeah.
was. There was
It
puma
was in the
sightings.
early 90s.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Mhm.
it was in the early 90s. And I know people that actually seen that. And there was a case in the Lanarkshire area, and you can actually look it up. The army was brought in to hunt it down because it was killing sheep. And nobody knows
right.
what happened. Remember that? Remember the army was brought in to look for it.
I remember
And
that.
nobody knows
mhm.
what happened. And nobody
Mhm.
knows what happened. And that was in this
That's
area.
right.
But was it a human? Or was it
Well-
something darker, ancient?
Well, Chris, when it comes to the term they use for big cats being sighted where they're not supposed to be, alien big cat. Mountain
Yeah.
lions, pumas, black panthers, like that. There have been bodies collected from your area that support that, yes, big cats have been hanging around.
I mean, right, this is what I kind of get with it. They kind of cats, right? I mean, do they like a warmer climate? Because it's like, what, minus 15 outside my house right now. I mean,
That's
do they...
Well,
Scotland has a very similar climate to where I'm at, southern Idaho, and we had, in fact, just a couple months back, we had a situation where there was a mountain lion stalking the local college grounds.
See,
It happens.
mhm. Was it
See-
cold at the time when these sightings came, or was it a bit hot? I mean, can you remember back if it was cold or hot?
It was
Well, you
temperatures
never
were
know. It
starting
could be extreme cold that brings them out, or extreme hot.
No, it was fairly cold
But what-
at the time. So
but
There
what
you
I'm
go,
about to
you
say
never
is
know
this,
if that's
right?
what's
Everybody
bringing
knows the
them
size
out.
of Scotland. Scotland is a very small nation, right? Yeah, we're joint to England and stuff like that, right? But it's very, very small. I think we've got a population of like 7 million people or something like that. I mean, your state, Dakota, will be bigger than Scotland, probably. Get what I
we
mean?
can drown. The U.S.
Um,
can drown the UK in our Great Lakes, just for size comparison.
see what I mean? You would think
There you
you
go.
would think there had been this thing would have been captured by now, but it hasn't been. It's only been seen.
Is it
Or
dimensional
what
as
we've been
well?
told. See, that's what I'm wondering. That's what it makes you wonder. It's like Bigfoot. Bigfoot is extremely good at hiding, ridiculously good at hiding, and it makes you wonder if it's maybe intelligent, like Bigfoot. It's maybe coming for the same realm as Bigfoot comes from.
Yep. See, does ley lines maybe open
Well-
these portals up where these things can slip in and out? You know, there's lots of research out there. You can go down the road off, you know.
Ken, it's quite weird you say that, because those little girls actually looked where they were murdered, where the supposed point is where they were murdered, and a ley line runs right past it, right past my village, right through.
Wow.
And it makes you wonder: are they using this? Is it they maybe using the energies? Do you know where they were murdered? See, as you come out of Muirkirk, as you
Right.
come out of Muirkirk, on the left hand side you've got standing stones. You know what I'm talking
Oh,
about?
yeah.
That's where they were murdered. Where the standing stones are, where the stones go back like maybe 3,000
Were
or
they
4,000 years.
sacrificed?
Don't know.
Who knows if they were maybe even a sacrifice, you know? Then that's what happened with the dog.
Yeah.
Maybe it turned into a dog, the entity, because, you know.
Put it this way, I wouldn't go out in the woods at night. I wouldn't, knowing that these things exist. I mean, it's actually quite scary in a
You know,
way,
that's
isn't it?
quite strange that if these girls were murdered, right, just go down this line a wee moment, right, to say that maybe there was somebody in that area who needed more land or something. And they did do something like that. I mean, I don't know if I'm allowed to say this or no, but two virgins would get you double the power, if you like. Two young virgins would get you double the power of quality of land and different things. Did somebody have the power at that point in time to either conjure one of these things up or have the ability to do it themselves? And did manage to manifest into a black dog so it wasn't noticed. It's interesting to see maybe the history of that area, to see if there was a boom in somebody's land at that time, or a boom in maybe somebody's fertility or something.
Here's the gravestone here. View of the headstone commemorating the two children killed by a wild cat, Muirkirk Parish Church, Scotland. I don't know if I can hold this up. I don't know if it'll reflect. Oh no, that's what their stone looks like. Right. Let's see what it says. Let's see. So I'm trying to find the story behind it.
Hello below.
The two children type, but okay. I'm just trying to find it because it's a very interesting story. And what's that in the chat there? Yes, I'm in Ontario, Canada. Ran into what's this? I'll bring this up actually. I ran into a mountain lion in 1992. Everyone thought I was nuts then. Several sightings with photos happened in 2005 when they were confirmed in our area. See, it makes you wonder what's run about us. And there's
I do
another one
believe
for
there is
paranormal.
things. There's definitely things about that. I mean, way back then, the government did make people cover the type of thing up, you know. So you wouldn't really have proof that it was captured or anything because they did cover it up. But these days, who knows?
No.
Is there more? Let us know if you know anybody that's seen them these days.
This is what the plaque reads, right? The folklore is a freezing winter's morning. The light of the full moon, which is interesting, the full moon, two young children were savaged and killed by a Scottish wildcats on their way to Muirkirk School. It was believed the screams were heard by the local farmer who ran to their assistance, but was too late to save them from their terrible fate. The stone was erected in their memory by the local townsfolk around 1755. So it's actually quite interesting. That I'll actually leave that link. I'll put this link below. That's actually.
I mean, as well, if you think about it, in that area there was witches, wasn't there, Chris? And
there was the standing stones. There was the standing stones.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there was the standing stones. It was a pagan worship ground, and the stones seemingly date back like 30,000 years or something. It's ridiculous how far back they go. And
that's crazy because I mean that could have been a famous sacrifice spot then. I mean, I don't know blaming the witches that get sacrificed, to be honest, but it could have been the energy of that area that did help with that. It's interesting.
But here's a question for you, Dakota. Do you think the full moon had a part to play?
According to mainstream science, the whole full moon makes people crazy. It's an over-exaggeration on the fact of people taking advantage of more light in the night to get away with crap. But Andrina does actually make a couple points. Maybe not this. There's also another alternative where if someone did do these murders to try to expand their land, they may have tried to use the rumors of witchcraft, weird monsters out there to cover up their story. Back then, forensics, yeah, they existed back then. They were nowhere near as good as they are today, though. I mean, just as stuff like that happens today. I mean, a little over an hour's drive from me, there's a restaurant owner who tried planting a bomb somewhere in order to expand his restaurant by blowing up the area he wanted.
Oh, wow.
See, it makes you wonder. That is great. I mean, it makes you wonder if maybe that it was blamed in a big cat and it was somebody else that did it. And they went, oh, it's terrible. These 2 young children were murdered by a big cat. I seen them running that way.
That's what the quote is saying.
Exactly. There's one thing. The killer could have easily tried to blame local law or nobody really wants to think that their next door neighbor could be capable of mutilating someone like that.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I actually heard an interesting story. I was at Lead Hills in Scotland. I was looking up things. Have you ever heard of the Tommyknockers? The little creatures that live in the mines.
Yeah,
there's actually stories in Lead Hills. Yeah, and the miners would tell stories about they'd be mining away and they would hear this tapping noise. They'd like, tick, 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 and they would look around, there'd be nothing there. They would stop doing what they were doing and they would look and they would hear the tapping. And there was one story I was told a long time ago. I don't know where this was. I think this is in Canada. Or it was somewhere. There was an old story goes, they heard a tapping, right? The 2 miners heard this tapping. So they followed it and they kept following this tapping and it led them outside. And the 2 miners come outside, right? And just as the 2 miners come outside, the whole mine collapsed.
Mm-hmm. There you go.
And there's
that's
stories
what they're there for, there, wasn't it? To help.
Mm-hmm. There's stories in Lead Hills and stuff like that, of like little creatures that lived in the mines. And they didn't like it if you went into their area and stuff like that. I find that fascinating because I've heard of the little creatures that live under the ground and stuff like that. They're no fairies. I think there's something else. What is it? Mike the Naked Bigfoot had a name for them. If you get them in your house, you can't get rid of them. What are they called, Dakota? They're like a paranormal vermin.
What was that?
I'm trying to remember.
God, I wish I had Mike's knowledge on this stuff to just recall it like he could.
Oh, he called them paranormal vermin.
Well, what was that again?
I'll need to go and watch all his videos. It was his first 4-part video that he did. Mike, what was that? And you could see them. They showed themselves with reflective surfaces. That's how you could tell they were there. Because when they walk past reflective surfaces like mirrors and like metal shiny things, you could actually see them. What was their names? I've actually seen them in a few ghost hunting shows where people have had like strange wee creatures running about their house. And that's been them. In the chat, what's it called? Come on, what are the paranormal little vermin? What else have we got in the chat here? We have had absolutely no cat attacks. They were just super shy. So that's going to be quickly. I didn't even time to spray.
Yeah, thankfully, in most cases, that there is a case where a big cat goes to get too close to humans. They're just looking for a place to hide. I mean, Andrea was asking, they're just trying to find some place warm. It was also the start of hunting season around that time frame, and they noticed that there's always a lot more people running into roads near cities because the deer figured out that time of year is when they're going to have people shooting at them if they stayed up in the mountains.
I'm going to Mike's channel just because this is going to annoy me now. I need to find out.
I know it's annoying. I've seen if anybody in chat knows.
It was what was it? What was it called?
Welcome, American
He's got that many
Pride.
He's got that many videos up. What was the name of that?
Jackie Frank.
It was the Goblin House. It was little goblins, but he called them something. It's the Goblin House part 1 you want to watch, to part 3. And honestly, it's they go and they like to live under trees. And when new people built houses, they moved in. And they would basically, you would think you had like a poltergeist in your house, like a ghost in your house. But it wasn't, it was them. And it was, see this Dakota, this has got to annoy the 3-years. This has got to annoy the 3-years now, innit? Until we can figure out what they're called.
Yep.
But what's in the chat?
It's like a little sprite, but it's not that.
What's this? Hey, American Pride, Ohio, welcome. What's this? Who the channel? I just thought I'd drop in and say hello, everyone on YouTube, rapper, and what's that? Chase police around on my channel. All right, brilliant.
Blessings.
Brilliant. Welcome. Thank you for popping in. Yep. They'll give your channel a little shout out. I like to do that again. If anybody wants their channel shouted out, just say in the chat and I'll bring you up. American Pride, Ohio. Go and check his channel out, ladies and gentlemen. Who else we got in here? Quite a lot of new people in here. I think these are belong to you, Drew.
Yeah, they're my faithful subscribers. They're very awesome people, so they are. Paranormal Hub's actually got a Facebook group, guys. If you check it out, it's actually doing really well. And there's everybody from cryptids, UFOs to ghosts in there. He's amazing.
Send me a Paranormal Hub. Send me a thing on Facebook, and I'll share you out in all my groups for you. Help you grow. So we've only got 15 minutes or so left. What's the last strange creature do you want to discuss? Dakota, do you have any
time for these things?
What's that?
There's cats in Scotland. Do you not find it interesting? There's a lot of different cat legends in Scotland. What about where you stay, Dakota? Is it the same? Is cats a big legend in your area as well?
Well, there's a lot of mountains near me, so it's not that uncommon for the big cats to come visit.
No, the little cats. I mean, not the big cats. The felines, like your pet cats that turn bad. There's a lot of myths and legend in our folklore. Yeah, like black cats being seen, and it's like a dooming effect. Like the legend behind the black cat, basically. It actually is a few in Scotland. I'd need to get the names of them up again. I've not got my other book with me, but it kind of stems from that legend that welcome, Dobie.
The cat people.
That if a black cat goes,
what about the cat people?
The cat people.
I don't know. I've never heard of the cat people before. I don't know what the dog people.
There's loads, honestly. I mean, there's trolls, fairies.
I know.
You could actually pick a topic.
It's ridiculous. I mean, it's ridiculous. I mean, last night I sat and looked at all the people. You've got the blue men of the Minge that live in the sea that come out and take the sailors away. You've got you've got serpents that live in the oil fields. You know, the oil fields near Aberdeen that come up and they take the ships. And then you've got the women that sit in the rocks. Now, what are they called again? What do you call them again? They've got names and they kind of lure sailors to their death. The mermaids, they've got a different name here. And they lure sailors to their death, you know, to the rocks like below.
I mean, listen to this one, guys. I just wrote this down for it. I was going through different ones and I jotted this down, right? It's called, the entity is called Knucklevia, right? And it is a no-skinned, red-creatured man, and it sits in the back of a horse and has, excuse me, and has spikes and things, and he's got like spikes and spears. He carries spikes and spears, and it is said they have poison on the ends of them, and if he manages to stab you with them, you're affected, and you slowly die a painful death and things. And basically, he just goes through the woods and his horse. He was described as a man. You ever seen somebody with their skin just took off them and they're all like muscle, but it's like fleshy muscle? The picture was them of like that, just going through the woods, stabbing people with these swords and things and stakes with poison on them. So you've got everything.
Yeah, I
Don't
fear
go
to
in the
go
woods
now.
of
That's that.
Scotland.
I'm feared to go. That's that. I mean, I know my friend, the cameraman Alan, will be watching this, and don't you worry, Alan. When we go to Loch Ness, I'll be sending you in that rowing boat. Don't you worry. You
Don't go in the woods.
Oh, poor Alan.
I don't. It's fine. It's fine. Me and Drew will sit at the cafe, and we'll wave to you. You know, that sounds terrible, Drew. By the way, that thing that gets you. That's just.
Yep. And that's all it wants to do is run. When I was knuckle fear or something, it's called. There's loads,
I think
guys.
that's actually up. There's the Dundee Dragon. There's the Great Hand, which I find interesting. A big fiery hand, you know.
I mean, that little map kind of looks like something out of a children's book, Chris. You're not going to see something that's essentially a skinless horseman that stabs people on there. But then again, there's a demon summoning children's book, so
that's very true. I mean, I'm just looking. There's just so many different things. I mean,
loads,
England has got loads. The big giant bogey is an elf-like creature that comes to get you in the night. The big bogey. I mean, that's obviously Scottish. They're Scottish. They may remember last week how they wanted us to be more Scottish, to give our lingo out.
Oh,
more
that's
Scottish.
right.
What was that? They wanted. That's that. They were wanting us to be more Scottish.
More slang.
They want you to be more Scottish. People can hardly understand you as is.
If they say things like it's a brawl, brick, moonlight, neck to neck.
That's the perfect person
It's all
we
right,
can practice on. Dakota, we've got a mission
off.
for you. We want to say the bra bricht moonlicht nacht to nacht.
Come on. Shit. It's been a while since you tried that shit on me. My God.
Come on. Let's see it. Let's see the best. Come on, let's go for it.
I can't get drunk enough to be able to say that.
Kid on your Klingon. It's a bra
Klingon!
Aye, it's a bra bricht moonlicht nacht to nacht. See? There's people in the chat. Right, everybody in the chat, say it to yourselves. I bet there's people in the chat in there right now that's watching this, saying that, trying to say it. I'm telling you. This is going to keep the chat going.
Trans is a broad, bright moonlight night tonight.
Aye. Come on, Dakota. Saying it's Christmas. Come on. Quietness. All it's missing is the tumbleweed.
I know, right?
Oh, come on. Silence.
Just say it's a broad, bright moonlight night.
Just say it's a broad, bright moonlight night tonight. Come on.
Here, I was going to reveal you a Christmas gift next week here, Chris, but I'm starting to reconsider.
Do you know something? Do you want to see something funny, guys? Dakota, what's that image? It's funny. Dakota's picture that he's got. Do you want to see what my picture is? I uploaded it especially just for Christmas. Look at this one. I had to put elf on, you know. It's Christmas. You know? It's Christmas.
You're the elf and Dakota's the Grinch.
Yeah, sounds about right.
Aye. You know? But listen, next week we're doing like a cash. We're talking about everything and anything supernatural, anything UFO. We're talking about anything like that, and hopefully Dakota will be there, Drew will be there. Oh, you got a witch right now, broomstick there. What was that? What's that? Snowman. What's Snowman saying here? Let's bring this up.
I just had it up.
You had it up?
Bag.
My God.
Oh, that is
yeah, we
probably
Lost
not something
Uncle
to say
Dan.
with
He's all.
that. I know fuck
There you
that.
go.
I actually know that much.
Hi, the new. I'll tell you that, the new there, Jimmy. See? You're going to have to learn the lingo for when you come back to Scotland, Dakota, so as you can mingle with the Scottish people, blend in, become one with them.
I'm 6'7". I can't blend in anywhere.
But we'll get you a kilt. Well, what do you think, ladies and gentlemen? We'll get him a kilt, you know,
Duck and
a
blend in.
big
I
spawn
tried
in the
when I
front,
was over there.
a set of bagpipes.
I tried to
a
find
set of
myself a
bagpipes,
kilt
you know
when
what,
I
a
was
set
over
of
there. I was going to
bagpipes.
wear it on the plane ride home.
You know,
They're expensive.
think
They
we-
are expensive, honestly.
I've just had a vision.
Mhm.
You can get them off at Amazon, you know, or eBay, or get a cheap one, you know.
I couldn't find one my size. They said, "Oh, but the
Yeah, you
Christmas
can,
skirts are over
yeah.
here." It's like, "Oh, fuck off."
Rolled into it. A traditional could actually get rolled into it. You would fit it, no problem.
Aye. I think, honestly, Dakota, I think you look awesome in a kilt. I can see you now with your big woolly socks on, your boots and your kilt on, marching up a hill and big wolves coming out with the bigger black eyes,
Yeah, your
chasing you with the
ski
moors,
shock.
you know. But
Yeah.
but honestly, as a broad moonlight night tonight, it's what you call it, the moon is
It
out.
really is.
Aye.
Mhm.
See, I had a message
stars are out.
last week for somebody saying, could you please be more Scottish? I am trying to be more Scottish for you.
Talk more
So, there you
Scottish.
go. So we'll have to be more
The
Scottish.
thing is, if we talk
know.
more Scottish, nobody understands us.
That's the problem. That is the problem. We can't be any more Scottish, you know.
I know.
But I'll tell you,
We have to try and beat with the Scottish accent.
what's that,
If you
Dakota?
want to see something fun, whenever these are on live, turn on closed captions on whatever platform you're watching them on. It is funny to watch them try to figure it out.
See, there's I understand you. See, he can understand this. He can understand.
Well, it took me like 3-4 months to understand what you say,
it's
Chris.
Gaelic.
What do you mean there, big man? I'll tell you that now. Come on, I'm for the lesson to know that, you know.
Exactly. You know, when we first met, it took me like 3 or 4 months to start understanding what you say.
But see, that's the thing. If I bet you Drew can understand every word that I said there.
Oh yeah.
You see what I'm saying?
Not a problem.
All right, big man, know that. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That's something I bet you, Americans and Canadians have probably never encountered is a Glaswegian. What do you think, Drew? Do you think they've ever encountered a Glaswegian?
Yeah, we need to introduce you to a Glaswegian. My son's up as well through Paisley, but he talks really polite. But so he's not really like
hello.
Guy, what do you like, streety? He does talk nice and
He's a
polite. You'll
posh
find that
Glaswegian.
most Glaswegians are talk polite, but there is that little bit that talk pure slang in that. No, ken what I mean in that? No, they just talk like that.
See,
they don't want to even
we've got a
give me the time
Glaswegian
of
in the
day.
chat, you know. All right, there, big man, and all that.
Come and
what
talk
you
to
saying
us.
you know.
Come and hang out with us. Come and chill with us.
Gaelic is an older Scots language. Very few speak it. Anyway, I can sing Postman Pat in Gaelic. Because I used to watch when I was 6. I used to watch the Gaelic programs when I was 6.
What I'll
Postman
do,
Pat.
guys, is I'll do a Scottish poem next week, okay? I'll practice a Scottish poem and I'll say it for you. I did start saying that you've hurt your finger, pair wee man, your pinky dearie me. They just you hold it that way till I get my specs and see. Ah, there it is, Skelf and all. They didn't greet name here. They see her, I go to it and I swear that was Nicia.
Very good, Drew. Very well done, everybody. Everybody, thumbs up for Drew.
I won an award for saying that. I'll do other ones.
Is that at the school? There you go. See, there you go, Dakota. You need to learn some
Robbie Burns.
poetry. Aye, Robbie Burns. Right, I tell you what, Dakota, the task for you next week is to come on and say it's a Brobracht Moonlicht Nacht to Nacht in Scottish. That's your challenge.
Yeah, Dobby's for Kirkconnell. It's really pure Scottish.
Have you noticed that? You get that in Scotland. You'll get parts of Scotland that speak kind of more. You get different dialects of Scottish speaking. You get see if you go to Edinburgh. I don't know if you've ever noticed this. Have you noticed that Edinburgh people, what they're like? Oh, hello. Edinburgh people have got a kind of posh accent.
I
then
did
if you go to
notice that
Glasgow,
actually.
And then you go to
Yeah.
Glasgow, it's right there, big man, all that. I'm going to be going
All
down
right,
the
big
tube
man.
tonight, you know.
You going for a
But then
baby?
you get into the but then you come into the kind of lowlands, right? The lowlands when you Drew says the Drew's accent is slightly different from mine. For some weird reason,
It's
even though
only
we're 3
because
miles
I've had
away.
training. It's because I've
Aye.
had to really practice to try and get rid of my accent because I work in the call centres and things. I've had to really focus. It doesn't always work.
There's Dobby thought that Edinburgh talk a bit posh. I've noticed that.
Yeah,
I've
I
noticed that about
it while I
Edinburgh
was over
people.
there.
I wouldn't worry about it. The folk in Edinburgh are strange anyway. I wouldn't worry about that.
See, I wouldn't worry about it. That's pure Scottish without realising it.
Aye.
There's things
like-
we
it's
say we
like-
don't realise it's.
I tell you, Dave, if Sherry comes on the show next week, we'll get Sherry to speak some Scottish for us. We'll get her to say it's a bra bracht the moonlight nacht tonight. You know. Anyway. So, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for coming tonight. Thank you, Dakota, for coming tonight, and thank you, Drew, for coming tonight. We'll see you all next week on the show, on the Christmas special. I hope you've all got your Christmas presents ready. I think, Dakota, what do you want for your Christmas? Is it a Bugatti Veyron that you were wanting? If there's any millionaires in the chat,
I can't fit in a Bugatti.
we can get you in. We can get you in there, man. We'll cut a hole in the roof or something like that. We'll squeeze. No, actually, what's your favourite vehicle? A Hummer. A Hummer. Could you get into one of them?
Yeah, I can get in a Hummer just fine.
There you go. You know. But ladies and
Not very
gentlemen, I hope
nice,
you all
so
have a
lovely.
fantastic week. Please, I know. Can you imagine driving that in the UK? £1.65 a litre, and they get about 10 miles to the gallon.
Really?
Is
Sweet
there tanker behind
Jesus.
it?
Aye, you're good God, it costs you about 100,000 a year to run it. But anyway, ladies and gentlemen, we will see you next week. I'm going to try and get a video done through the week, hopefully. So, catch you later, dudes. See you.
Blessings,
Bye.
everybody.